New Orleans signed C.J. Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted with one.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the 5th down. The 5th down, giving you that extra down you need to win it all. What's up? I'm Johnny Slokes. This is our first show that we are not together, but we are still via Skype today. K-Mill, what's up, man?
What is up, 5th downers? How y'all doing?
Yeah, we're doing a Skype show today. So this is episode 13. We're gonna be going over some handcuffs and like some number 2 and 3 receivers. Sound good to you?
Sounds great to me. I love it.
Yeah. So you're where are you at in Washington?
I am in Bremerton, Washington. It's great out here. It's the nice time of year. The 3 months out of the year that actually get sunshine, so it's great. I love it. I think I've had my fill of sunshine though because I've been in 29 Palms for so long, but I'll take it.
Yeah. How many times has it rained since you've been there?
A couple times. Like 3 days out of the 3 weeks that I've been here. So it's more than that. It's been cloudy, but it hasn't rained. It's weird.
Yeah. So we've been gone for a while now. I know that you weren't on our last show. We did a little interview with the football doctor.
Gotta go visit the doctor every once in a while.
Yeah, he is actually sending us some draft boards. We're having a little online contest giveaway type of deal. You know, rate review us on iTunes and have a chance to win a draft board. It's high quality. He just came out with the Color Rush stickers. It looks pretty. So
I love draft boards.
A lot of big news has been happening lately too. You want to pick it up from there, K-Mill?
Yeah, hasn't been announced by the NFL yet, but Le'Veon Bell likely to miss the first 4 games of the season. That sucks if you've already done your drafts because he has a very high ADP, and chances are he's already long gone on any of your draft boards if you've already been drafting. So I'm a Le'Veon Bell owner in 1 league, so kind of sucks. Make sure you handcuff your backs. I think that's the moral of the story. So if you haven't yet, do that.
All right. But say you haven't drafted yet, where does Bell fall to? I mean, obviously he's not a first-round pick. Is he a second-round pick?
Absolutely, no question about that. You're talking about a guy who, yardage-wise and like just stats-wise overall, has been like just a complete like somebody in every league he's ever been in, you know what I mean? Like the college, NFL. I mean, this is a guy you want to own. It doesn't dip his value too much because he's missing the first 4 games. Because honestly, I kind of like the idea because it keeps him because he's an injury-prone back, so maybe keeps him healthy for a little while longer.
Maybe
a little more time to rest.
That's an interesting way to look at it. See, I'm trying to look at it from both perspectives right now. Like the positives is when he plays and he's healthy, he is always like a top 3 running back from week to week for the most part, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's what does kind of keep his value up, but if you're looking at the negatives, he's starting to go down this dark alley right now where, like, you got players like Justin Blackmon and Montavious Bryant and all those players that are so talented and explosive, but yet they throw their careers away with drugs. Do you think that's now certainly like a big concern if you're a Le'Veon Bell owner?
I think it's an epidemic in Pittsburgh. I mean, think about it. Like, we got Martavius Bryant. I know this is 2 different positions, but he's out for the entire season for a marijuana suspension. We got Le'Veon Bell, who is going to be out for 4 games, and then if he gets caught again, he's done for a year as well.
Wouldn't he have been suspended if he would have actually took the drug test and failed for a year?
No, because this is only his second. Because if you miss a test, it counts as a fail, basically, and he's missed several, according to ESPN. But here's an interesting stat that I wanted to read off here.
All right, shoot me.
All right. There were last year. I know that Le'Veon Bell had an injury shortened season last year, but there were actually name them off to me. The top 4 backs that averaged the most yards per carry last year.
Oh man. You want me to name the top 5 running backs of based off their yards per carry?
Just give me the top 4.
All right, I'm gonna obviously say the rushing champ Adrian Peterson's probably up there.
Okay, he's one of them.
Since you're bringing this up, probably Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell is one of them.
I know Jamal Charles is historically pretty good. Is
he actually was. His injury shortened last year, but he actually averaged the most yards per carry last year.
Yeah, I know he's usually pretty high up there. What about like a Thomas Rawls?
No. Doug Martin was the guy you're missing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But my point here with having you name those guys off is that Le'Veon Bell has almost every year been like top 4 in average yards per carry. He averaged 4.9 last year, and actually he averaged more than AP. AP only averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Him and Doug Martin were tied for second, and Jamal Charles had the league lead with 5.1.
That's some hot fire right there.
Yep.
You know,
that's what I'm here for.
See, what I'm trying to think though is with Le'Veon Bell, when you're drafting him, you're essentially drafting pretty much 3 players because he's a running back 1, wide receiver 2, and you have to handcuff him with D'Angelo Williams.
That's very true.
And especially now that he's shortened 4 games, like say you have to draft him in like the 3rd round or 4th round. And now you have to come right back and draft D'Angelo in like 10 through 12. Do you still think it's worth it?
It depends.
What if he pops again?
Well, here's my whole. I'll tell you why it is worth it and why it's not worth it. Why it's not worth it? He's an injury-prone back. Like you said, you have to waste 2 picks essentially. And then also, if he gets injured, like you pretty much lost your top back for the year. So those are the reasons why you shouldn't do it. The reasons why you should do it is because he's a complete game changer as far as running backs go. Almost every year he's been a league leader as in yards per carry. He's usually a league leader as long as he's healthy in yards, and he's usually a league leader in touchdowns.
So, say if you have Le'Veon Bell in say a keeper or a dynasty league, looking at it long term, shouldn't it frighten you more?
I think it's a frightening trend, definitely, because we all know what happened to Martavis Bryant, and it looks like Le'Veon might be headed down the same road.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't look like he failed the test, but even though he missed him, he should still know better.
The worst part about this, though, is it's on a contract season.
Yeah, he's got a lot of proving to do
Pittsburgh. You know Pittsburgh. They don't play that shit, man. Like you like they don't like troublemakers on their team. Like look at Mike Wallace. They didn't re-sign him. You know, they're not afraid. They're not afraid to cut you even if you're good.
Yeah, LeGarrette.
I could see Le'Veon Bell being on like a bottom feeder next year. I could see him playing for like the Browns or the Raiders or some team like that, or some shitty team that overpay him. He wants to be the highest paid running back, and he's never played a full season.
Yeah, that's very disturbing. There's a very disturbing trend going on, but the fantasy upside for him is there if he can stay healthy for an entire season. I mean, you're going to put up. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of CJ2K when CJ2K was CJ2K.
Alright, so I think we spent enough time on Le'Veon Bell. And this is a little bit older news, but I feel like we need to touch on it a little bit. Arian Foster signing to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I like the signing a lot as far as like a real life perspective. because Adam Gase, if there ever was a coach that knows what to do with the passing, with a back that is a good pass catcher, it's Adam Gase. The only thing that concerns me, though, as a fantasy perspective is I don't even know if I can make heads or tails of the Miami Dolphins backfield, because
there's been some rumors that he's going to be the number one right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if I'm Adam Gase, I'm definitely putting him as a number one, because a healthy Arian Foster, we've seen it in Houston, he's absolutely fantastic. But J.H.I. too.
I mean, how much can you trust Arian Foster to stay healthy?
That's a very good question. It's
about as far as you could throw a sumo wrestler, right?
Yeah, you know what? From what I've heard though, this offseason is he's very healthy and very good shape. So I've heard good reports, but I mean it's hard to trust a guy that has. I think he's only played since he's been in the league. I think he's only played 2 full seasons.
The way I look at it is, I don't think he's gonna be the guy that's gonna get like 200, 250 carries. He's not gonna be anything like that. I think he's going to be like a third down back, change of pace back for J.H.I. still. But I think right now it's just hype. They're excited. He's signed. Yay, he's old. Where do you think, you in a redraft league, where should he be getting drafted? Would you draft him in the 8th round?
I think that'd be safe territory to take a flyer on him.
I mean, that's where a lot of running backs are getting drafted, is in the 8th, 9th round. So
I think that's safe territory. I would feel more comfortable taking an injury-prone back like Arian Foster, who's had a career pattern of being injured a lot. I'd like to take him maybe later, like the 12th, the 13th. But
what if he starts creeping up to like 6th or 7th round? That's probably where you're going to have to take him. You know.
I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking him there.
Because I have a feeling before it's all said and done, that's where his ADP is going to be. Is like 6th or 7th round.
I mean, it's a very, very good point.
But that might also drive some value over to J.H.I. It might make his ADP drop a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought too when I first heard that signing. I knew that 2 things were going to be imminent with it, and it was that Arian Foster's ADP was going to go way up, and J.H.I.'s was going to go way down.
All right, so our last little piece of news that we're going to cover for right now is Josh Gordon got reinstated. He's going to still serve a 4-game suspension, but what does this mean? Are you totally excited, or you're just like, oh, I've seen this before?
I think we're all just kind of tired of hearing about it. I think that we're just like, I mean, if this is honestly his last chance. If he can't put it together this season, he's so amazingly talented, but he just can't. He can't stay on the field. He can't be on the field because he keeps getting in trouble. He keeps smoking pot. So
I can't believe that he only got a 4-game suspension. That came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that. I was expecting Roger Goodell to say, you know what, man, go fuck yourself.
If I was the commissioner, I would too, because we've been down this road before.
Wait, how many times have you been busted? Like 4 times?
Yeah, and he's repeatedly said, oh, this is my last time, I won't get caught again. But he's like the boy who cried wolf. He keeps doing it, and he's going to get caught again. Mark my words. I don't feel comfortable drafting him at all, because I feel like I would rather have somebody else bite the bullet on that one.
So, I mean, what do you think about those weapons that Cleveland has on the receiving side of the ball this year, though? They got Josh Gordon, they got Corey Coleman, and Gary Barnidge.
Well, all I got to say about that is
they got RG3.
Yeah, here we go. All right, here's my spiel on this, and this is all I'm going to say on it. And I know I've said that before, but this is really all I'm going to say about it. If RG3 can't put it together this year with those talented receivers, then he's dead. R.I.P. RG3.
That was a good one. It kind of rhymed at the end.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, that's it. His career is done. Like, he will never be... He'll be one of the biggest draft busts of all time if he can't put it together in Cleveland. Because he's got all the tools. From what I've heard, the offensive line has improved. It's not the greatest. It's no Dallas for sure, but, you know, I mean, if he can't put it together, he's done.
Yeah, you hear that, 5th downers? He's fucking done.
He's fucking done. R.I.P. RG3.
All right, so we're just gonna run through each team alphabetically right now, and then we're just gonna run through all the backup running backs, and we'll do some number 2 and 3 receivers. Some of them are actually pretty good. So, but we're gonna try to cover some of the guys that don't normally get talked about. All right, so the first team we got up here is the Arizona Cardinals. We all know about David Johnson, but what about the other Johnson?
Oh, yeah, CJ 2K, but he's just CJ now because there's no 2K involved. But
you don't want to feel the Johnson?
I do not want to feel the Johnson. Unless it's David Johnson, I would let him inside of me, definitely. I'm just kidding.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was hot.
If you're drafting David Johnson, you definitely gotta have Chris Johnson for sure.
What do you think about Andre Ellington just being kind of completely phased out of the offense?
I love it because I never liked him to begin with. I've never liked Andre Ellington. I thought he's undersized. He's just not.
You didn't kind of find it surprising that they brought Chris Johnson back?
No, I'm not surprised by that. In fact, I thought this was interesting news. There is one Arizona Cardinals beat reporter that has David Johnson below Chris Johnson on the depth chart. Do you believe that?
It was like that last year. I don't see that holding water though.
No, yeah, and it's only one out of so many. And another Arizona beat reporter was like, "Oh, he's full of shit. There's no way that's going to happen." So basically, pretty much all of them are calling him out, saying he's stupid for saying that.
Yeah, they can't do that. That's anarchy against our fantasy football teams.
Yeah, it is. We're not going to take that. But yeah, you got to draft Chris Johnson.
But you got to think that Chris Johnson is kind of talented on his own. Say if David Johnson were to go down, he could fill in. He proved that last year. He was doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Another thing to watch out for. Another reason why if you own David Johnson, you should handcuff him earlier than normal. Handcuff him. Don't take him way too early, but take him. If you take David Johnson the first, or if he falls to the early second, whatever. But you should draft Chris Johnson. Don't draft him way late. Just draft him a little later. Don't overspend on him.
Once you get to a certain part of the draft, anyways, you're just throwing darts. So why not handcuff him?
Yeah, exactly. Because then think about it. Worst case scenario, if David Johnson for some reason doesn't get the starter gig, which I think would be absolutely insane by Bruce Arians. You got Chris Johnson. You've got that Arizona backfield locked up.
So I know we were going to talk about number 2 and 3 options at receivers, but with this team, they got 3 pretty good receivers that could all either fall flat on their face or have an outstanding week. I think the one that has probably the safest floor is Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he's going to get you a safe amount of touchdowns. This year I actually have projected that I think he's going to get about 5 touchdowns, and I think he's going to get about somewhere around 800 yards.
You really think he's going to come down that much, huh?
Yeah, you know what though? There's just so many receiving options in Arizona right now. It's ridiculous.
I know we're both a big Michael Floyd fan.
Oh yeah, I love Michael Floyd.
You think that he's going to step into that number 1 role?
I think he will. I think Larry Fitzgerald's going to be. I think it's safe to say that Larry Fitzgerald will be a number 2 this year, and I think that John Brown will be a deep threat that'll go in every now and again.
Actually, this might sound kind of surprising, but I think that John Brown was actually the most consistent receiver out of the 3 last year.
Yeah, I would have to say that. Honestly, that's the story of Michael Floyd's life, because he's been inconsistent. He's been so talented, but inconsistent every year he's been in the league.
Well, for him, he had that horrific hand injury at the beginning of the season that took him a month to get reestablished. towards the end of the season, he had like 3 or 4 100-yard games. So I'd really like to see if he could really like step into that number 1 role this year. I think that he can. He has the tools that are necessary. He's just putting it all together on a consistent basis.
You know, I think that me and you are in agreement here that I think we're poised to see a Michael Floyd breakout this year.
All right. So I mean, I think the main reason why they're able to support these 3 receivers is for the fact that they just don't use a tight end whatsoever.
Yeah, I know Jermaine Grisham is completely non-existent. I'm actually surprised he re-signed with Arizona for a 1-year deal. I'm really surprised about that. I mean, they don't even use a tight end. I mean, I guess unless you count blocking.
He does block.
Yeah.
So let's get moving. Let's get moving along, shall we? Yeah. So the next team that we are going to cover is the Atlanta Falcons. Now this is a team where their guys are pretty good handcuffed. Tevin Coleman. He's a guy that I think could actually maybe win the starting job, or maybe not the starting job, but maybe like get that early down work away from Freeman to keep him fresh. What do you think?
Quinn actually said that he wants Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman competing. So I think this kind of spells a little bit of doom for Devonta Freeman being that feature back, because I think that he's going to use a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think he's going to be a guy that rides the hot hand this year.
Well, I mean, remember last year when they had to compete for the starting job, look who won. It was Tevin Coleman. The only reason why
he got hurt.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think that honestly, I would not draft Devonta Freeman in any of my leagues. I don't want him. I don't want that whole situation back there. I don't want to deal with it.
I mean, I think that Devonta Freeman has a pretty safe floor, just for the fact that he does catch the ball a lot. Tevin Coleman doesn't really catch the ball that very much, but I see Coleman stealing a lot of carries away from him though. It's not gonna you're not gonna see the kind of volume in the carries that Freeman got last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think the volume is there. And think about that back half of the season that Freeman had last year. It was not.
It was brutal then. I mean, it wasn't too bad if you're in a PPR league, but if you weren't in a PPR league, it was pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, I you know what? Yeah, honestly, I think that's just kind of like bad news, and it's just going to get worse for Devonta Freeman.
Who do you think's the number 2 option on this team as far as receiving goes? Do you think it's going to be Mohamed Sanu? Do you think it's going to be Jacob Tamme, Devonta Freeman, or even the rookie tight end Austin Hooper?
Well, I think Austin Hooper is an excellent acquisition in any kind of a dynasty league or something like that. I think he's a great addition. You're going to get good value for him.
But yeah, rookie tight ends don't normally produce, though. So
yeah, exactly. So you know, I'm going to take the safe answer and say Mohamed Sanu ends up keeping his job all year. That's what they brought him in to do. They brought him in to be the number 2 opposite Julio Jones. So I hope that pans out. But we'll see.
I know that this might sound goofy, but this is a serious question. Who gets more receptions this year, Devonta Freeman or Mohamed Sanu?
That's a good question. I mean, this honestly, I think the best news to come out of this is if you're a Julio Jones owner, I think you're going to get a lot more volume because Mohamed Sanu can't catch the ball.
I mean, he just seems like a Percy Harvin, just like a gadget player.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, though, the difference is Percy Harvin was so much more talented than Mohamed Sanu.
When he wasn't having migraines.
Oh my God, that pissed me off so much.
Or being a team distraction, or getting ran out of the league because he's a distraction.
That's a very good point. Yeah. I hate Percy Harvin. He's an asshole.
All right. So I think that's all we can do on Atlanta. Let's go over to Baltimore. This is a fire bed over here. Lots of options to talk about over here because it's a smorgasbord of players. Really don't know what's going on over here.
Competing. There's 2.
Which 3 running backs do you like? Or there's 3 running backs in Baltimore that could all potentially start. Which one do you like the most? You got Justin Forsett, Javoris Allen, and Kenneth Dixon.
Well, you know what? The one with the highest upside, I would have to say, because we've already seen what Buck Allen can do. That's the stupidest nickname in all of football, Buck Allen. Okay, anyways.
He can't buck again, then buck fuck a friend.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
buck fuck Corinne.
Buck fuck Corinne, yeah, I know. You know, we've already seen what Justin Forsett could do, so I think the one with the highest upside is Dixon. However, I think that Forsett is going to be the bell cow back there as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, I was reading that was saying that Justin Forsett is going to get still the majority of the carries, but he is 31. They will look to reduce his workload a little bit, and I think it's going to be in the form of catching the ball. I think that he won't be asked to do as much in the receiving game this year. I think that's going to rely more on maybe like the rookie. I know Jarvis Allen can catch the ball, but he wasn't really a whole efficient with it.
Yeah, he was very inconsistent last year when he took over for Forsett, we'll say the least.
I mean, he looks just very average.
Yeah, like, so basic.
Like honestly, I'd rather if you're looking for that other running back for Baltimore, I think I'd go with Kenneth Dixon actually. Yeah, I mean you're saying he's a rookie and he has a potential to end up starting. Like, I think that's the running back I would draft from that team.
Yeah, you know, another position I want to talk about on Baltimore because it's a pretty much a hotbed. Like, we don't even know. Is the tight end position. There's so many options. Like, there's so many competing right now. You got Max Williams. You got Crockett Gilmore.
You got Ben Watson. You still have Dennis Pitta on the team. Yeah. I don't think that position's even draftable on that team.
Yeah, you have no idea who's going to start. I wouldn't even touch it.
I was just not considering a Baltimore tight end. But I do like to get either one of those running backs or one of those receivers because I think one of them is going to be just great. Especially those receivers because they threw the ball so much last year. Like, there's going to be a lot of volume over there, and like you got three or four guys over there, but you don't know which one's going to be like the lottery.
Yeah, well, you know what? You got Kamar Aiken. I'm loving that pick.
I'm all on board with the Kamar Aiken too.
Yeah, I'm falling in love with that pick. I mean, he's going to be a sleeper on a lot of people's draft boards, but man, I think he's going to be. I don't think that Rashard Perryman can stay healthy all season. I don't think Steve Smith can either. So when both those guys go down, watch out for Kamar Aiken.
I think I was on board with Perryman until he had that knee scare, and I was like, dude, I wouldn't touch this motherfucker with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, same here. And Steve Smith, I don't think he's really like an injury risk per se, but I think that he's so old and it's an Achilles injury. I'm just not expecting anything out of him at all. That's why I kind of draw towards Kamar Aiken. You also got Mike Wallace over there. He actually failed a physical. He gets to retest it again later this week, I believe. And then you got a guy named Chris Moore, a speedster. Well, I guess he's not really a speedster, but he's a deeper threat. I don't know how much they're actually going to use either of those two guys, but they're also there. All right. Anything else you want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens?
I think I'm good on the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. Next up, we got a team that's got a lot of backs and a lot of question marks there. We got the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the starter is LaShawn McCoy. There's no doubt about that. You got Carlos Williams is suspended. Enter in rookie Jonathan Williams, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And they also got Mike Gillislee there, but I think Jonathan Williams is the guy you want to get for right now. I mean, Carlos Williams is fat and suspended.
Yeah, I know. We were actually talking about that earlier, like a viable option, and it seems like he's kind of just pissing his career away right now.
And he's like Eddie Lacy, except for he's suspended.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, LaShawn McCoy, obviously number one. Jonathan Williams. Jonathan Williams, that's it. I get those two mixed up.
You know who else is there too?
Who's that?
Boom Heron.
My favorite. I hate. You mean Daniel Herron? Fuck Boom Herron. His name's not fucking Boom Herron.
No, I mean, I really was on board with the Carlos Williams train until I found out that he was fat, and then once he got suspended, it kind of sealed the deal for me. So now I'm flipping trains, man. You got Jonathan Williams, the rookie. They drafted him for a reason, I guess, and maybe they foreseen this coming.
I wasn't jumping on the train, but I was huge on the Shady McCoy train. I think LaShawn McCoy is going to put up some good numbers this year, and I think he's going to stay healthy, especially after the NFL didn't even discipline him for that whole nightclub incident.
Well, I think that he's definitely going to get a lot more volume over there because, you got Carlos Williams going to be gone for the first four, right? Is it first four?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's gone for the first four. They got a rookie behind him, and I just really like McCoy. I think he's going to get a lot of volume over there. I wasn't originally liking him until all this happened, though, so there's that, too.
Yeah, nobody's challenging him. Absolutely not. So, want to move to the receivers on Buffalo?
I guess so. It's an uninspiring unit. I mean, you obviously know that Sammy Watkins is their number one receiver. But
yeah.
Who is that second option that they got on that team? I mean, they got Robert Woods there, but they also got Charles Clay as well.
You know what? I think that if something were to happen to an injury-prone Sammy Watkins, I think that Robert Woods would be the prime beneficiary for all of his targets. But you bring up a good point with Charles Clay, who last year actually head coach badass, what's his name? God damn it.
Rex Ryan?
Rex Ryan, that's that motherfucker. Anyways, Rex Ryan has already publicly said that he wants to get Clay the ball more because last year he was underutilized because he was getting consistently open but not targeted by Tyrod Taylor. So he wants to get him involved in the game plan. So that's another good option. Charles Clay, I think we'll see an uptick as far as volume goes from last year.
See, my only thing is, this is my only thing against Robert Woods, is he is the number 2 receiver over there, and it's a very low volume passing offense. They don't really. I think Tyrod Taylor only attempted 380 passes last year, so that doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for Robert Woods, especially when you got Sammy Watkins and Charles Clay. I know McCoy can catch out of the backfield.
Well, all I'm going to say about Robert Woods is the only way he's going to be a factor next year is if Sammy Watkins goes down for an extended period of time.
And that is something that he tends to do. So
if we're looking at a serious number 2, if Rex Ryan's totally serious about what he said, I think we're looking at possibly a career year for Charles Clay. I think that he's going to have a really good year because I think he's going to be that most viable number 2 option in Buffalo.
I'll believe it when I see it. I know Rex loves to run the ball, so.
Yeah, that is true. That's another thing too. Is you got to understand that they're going to establish the run game in almost every game, unless they're getting beat down, then they're going to abandon that. But I think that their number 1 option is going to be Shady. Their number 2 option is going to be Sammy, and then their number 3 option is going to be Clay, and their number 4 is going to be Robert Woods. So that leaves everybody else pretty much out of the game plan.
All right, so moving right along, we got the Carolina Panthers are next. Obviously, we know that Jonathan Stewart is the bell cow over there. He's getting up there in age, and you already know what I'm about to say. Bring on the pain train. Cameron Artis Payne.
That up.
I've been drinking since I got off work.
Yeah, well, you and me too, brother. All right. Yeah, bring on the pain train. I mean, it goes without saying, if you're in a fantasy league and you get a running back, you're going to want to handcuff him. So, pain train's a good one to have. I don't see anything happening with Fozzie Whitaker. So,
I remember drafting this guy last year and thinking, man, this is going to pay off so much. And then Jonathan Stewart ends up staying healthy all year until the playoffs, right before the playoffs. I think it was week 13 or 14. He ends up going down, and then I was like, well, I'm going to get Artis Payne, but I don't really feel that good about it, so I'm going to grab Fozzie Whitaker, too.
Yeah. You know what? And you know what? Another thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about with handcuffing Jonathan Stewart is a healthy Mike Tolbert's going to be back, too, so that limits Payne Train's fantasy or handcuff value as well, because at that point, it's going to be pretty much a running back by committee, I think.
Okay, I guess I was just about to ask you if you think that Mike Tolbert would be like the guy that you'd really want if Jonathan Stewart was to go down for an extended period of time, or do you think it'd just be like a full blown committee?
Here's my official answer: is that I don't know, so I want to stay away from it. I don't know what's going to happen. So if I draft Jonathan Stewart, I think that the primary guy I want to get is Payne Train, but I'm scared though because, you know, Mike Tolbert could possibly be in the mix too.
Okay, fairly said right there. I mean, personally, I think that if Jonathan Stewart was to go down, I think that Artis Payne would be like that 1 and 2 down thumper. And then you'd have Whitaker to be the receiving back. And then on short yardage, you'd have Tolbert. Tolbert probably gets some goal line work as well. So that's how I'd see it going down.
Yeah, Tolbert's a fan.
And you also got to throw in Cam Newton can run it inside the 5 as well. So.
Yeah, I mean that even might spell doom for Tolbert. My whole position on it is I don't know. So. Let's move on to receiving though, because I'm actually really interested to talk about this.
I mean, who do you really consider their number one option this year?
Well, we know that Cam loves Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, but he also likes Greg Olsen too.
I love Greg Olsen. Yeah, you know what? He's getting up there in age. I like him for next year, but if you're in like a dynasty or a keeper league, I mean, obviously not a guy you're going to want to hang on to because he's getting up there in age. But I think that it's going to be Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen. They're going to be the two main receiving threats. I think Ted Ginn, his top receiver last year, is going to be a complete
afterthought.
Yeah, he's going to do kick returns and that's it.
What do you think about a guy like Devin Funchess? Do you think he can do any damage this year? I mean, he's essentially like a less talented version of Kelvin Benjamin, don't you think?
I think so too.
I mean, they're like the same size. They do the same things. They're just like big possession receivers that can get it up there in the red zone.
Yeah, they're big guys for yards after the catch. I do like Devin Funchess. I think he does step up and he becomes a viable number 2 opposite Kelvin Benjamin.
All right. Well, I think that he might still have a little bit of improvement to be doing. I think he still was kind of raw in his game. I mean, you got to think he played tight end in college, so he's still got to learn a little bit with the route running. I think is what really he needs to get better at.
I think so too. He's still a little raw, but I think by comparison, there's a lot of receivers like a guy I've talked about in the past, Darrell Green Beckham from the Titans. I think he's even rawer than Funchess. I think that Funchess got a good amount of playing time next year, and I think that he's kind of starting to come out of his shell. He's gonna expand next year, is what I'm trying to say.
And what do you think about my name is Philly, don't call me Corey Brown? Do you think he's going to do anything or make any kind of impact whatsoever ever in any point in his life?
Philly Brown, what an idiot. No, I think he's going to be a complete non-factor as well. I think that Cam's top 2 targets from last year, 2 of his top 3 targets from last year will be completely non-factors this year.
So he's just complete ash trash?
Yes, don't touch him.
All right.
Football.
So we're moving on from the Super Bowl losers to the Chicago Bears. Okay, I don't have a very good Chicago accent, but that was my attempt.
All right, I'm actually really excited to talk about this backfield.
So, this backfield's a fucking mess, dude.
Yeah. Well, before we even talk about it, let's just say what John Fox officially said about it. He said that this team, this running back, is going to be a full-blown committee this year.
He said, what I heard is they plan on using 4 running backs.
Yeah,
that's 4. That's what the Giants did last year. You know how painful that was?
Oh man, that was super painful. I didn't want to own any of them. But John Fox said he's going to ride the hot hand this year, and so that spells. That's why for me, I don't want to touch Langford, because if Kadeem Carey or Howard somehow is the hot hand, then Langford, I mean, it might be a while before he sees the ball again.
I might be against the grain a little bit on this one, but I think that Jordan Howard is going to be the one that ended up running away with that starter job.
I'm going to disagree with you here, and I love when we have disagreements and I'm going to disagree with you for one reason. Kadeem Carey shows a little bit more promise running in the red zone. I think Howard's a little raw, but I think Kadeem Carey...
I think Howard is great in the red zone. He's like 230 pounds. I think he'd be able to pound it, stick it right in there. Also, Langford's pretty good in the red zone as well, so you really don't know who's going to be used in the red zone, really. But I'm just saying, I think that he is probably the best up and down runner, like north and south. Like Langford really wasn't that impressive to me last year. Like his yards per carry wasn't that good. He dropped the ball a lot. And Kadeem Carey, he seems like more like a third down back. Yeah, I know they also got Jaquiz to my pants Rogers. He's another guy that could probably play some third down work over there. I just think that Jordan Howard is probably like the best in between the tackle runner that they have on that team.
I mean, I know one.
The only issue you have with, I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but like the only issue you have with him is he is a bit injury prone.
Yeah, there is at least one beat reporter that said don't count out Kadeem Carey as far as the backfield carries go, because there's a lot to like about him. In college, he was a top running back in the Pac-12 with Arizona. I think last year he was a bit raw, didn't get the carries he needed. I think this year, though, I think that he's going to definitely be in the mix for being considered for carries, but at the same time, like, we're saying this completely nominally because Chicago's backfield next year is going to be a complete mess.
Well, I mean, at this point, Kadeem Carey is the longest tenure running back on that team, so.
I think that.
But here's the one thing that is working against Kadeem Carey, though. He was not drafted by that coaching staff. He's the only back that's not drafted by that coaching staff.
That is true. This is the last thing I'm going to say on the topic. Langford will get the first crack at it. If Langford struggles, I like Kadeem Carey to get that next crack at it, and then if he struggles, then I think that Howard's going to get a shot, and then if Howard runs away with the job, then that's
flip-flop everything you said, and that's what I mean.
Pretty much.
All right, so the one thing that we do not really can put a mark on really is how good do you think Kevin White is? Because he's going to probably be that number 2 option. We didn't really get to see him play last year, but there's people saying that he was every bit as good as Amari Cooper.
You know what? I think that he's a very good keeper guy going forward. I think that if he flourishes, we all know how injury prone Alshon Jeffrey is. So if he gets injured again, I think that Kevin White could really show. He still is a little bit raw, I think, but I think that
is Cutler good enough to support 2 receivers on a team?
I actually think that Cutler is going to take because
I know you had that
big step forward, but I am going to say this. I'm going to say that I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jay Cutler next year. I think that he's going to have a pretty good year next year.
Because I know there was it 2014 where they had, or was it 2013 where they had Brandon Marshall and Jeffrey both had amazing seasons, but I don't think that Cutler was throwing them the ball the whole year. I think they also had McCown that came in when he was injured. So
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think I want to know is Cutler good enough to support two wide receivers? I think he could do it. I'm not saying it's not unheard of, but
I'm going to say this a simple answer and say yes. I think that he is. I mean, you got talented receivers in Jeffrey, and then maybe White if he has a good year next year. But I think that he is talented enough. I think that there's going to be enough to go around. I don't think that I think White's going to kind of be like let's take him out, like a show and tell type of thing. We're going to take him out, show him off a little bit, but he's not going to get near the volume that Jeffrey's going to get unless he gets injured.
Do Eddie Royal is still sticking around on that team. He's the wide receiver 3. Do you think he's going to cut in anyone's work time anytime soon? Probably no.
The last time he was a number 2 receiver was in Denver, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. So no.
I know he was kind of a disappointment for some people that were relying on him to be a sleeper last year, but he never came through. Tight end, you think that their tight end will outproduce Kevin White? You got Zach Miller.
He's a guy I actually really love going forward. I think that Jay Cutler and him showed a lot of chemistry at the end of last year. The only thing is he's getting up there in age. I think he's 31 now.
You gotta like where he's going in the draft, though. He's going pretty late. You can get him nearly at the very end of the draft. You can get him like 14th, 15th round, maybe even later than that.
He's a guy that if you don't get a tight end early, he's a guy that I would definitely wait on and then grab him later. And then you've got pretty much a guy that I have as a sleeper next year as far as tight ends go.
What he represents for me is one of the cheapest tight ends that you can get that could finish in the top 12.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. 100%. I think that Zach Miller was a guy that I actually wanted to get in the Dynasty League we were in. The only reason is he had the same buy as Jordan Reed, and I already had Jordan Reed, so I didn't get him. But he's great. I can't say enough good things about where Zach Miller could finish. And getting him late like that isn't so bad for me because get him late, hell.
You can stock up at other positions,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
who gives a shit about a tight end?
Yeah, but I mean, he's got the physical assets. Jay Cutler and him showed a lot of chemistry last year. I think that sky's the limit for this guy.
All right, we're gonna move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you got drinking over there?
Drinking a Hop Slice Session IPA by Deschutes Brewery. It's in Bend, Oregon. Pretty good.
Well, I'm drinking I'm still poor, so I'm drinking Budweiser.
That happens, man.
Cincinnati Bengals. So, we all know their 1-2 punch, Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard. They've been relatively healthy in their career, so we only got to worry about, anyone behind them. Who do you think is going to be the more productive back out of the two between Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard?
Well, the trick with Jeremy Hill has always been the colder the weather gets, the better he gets. So I think that he's going to get off to another slow start. That's been his statistical thing. I think that Gio's going to start out. And I think as it gets colder, I think that Jeremy Hill is going to be the more reliable back.
No. One thing kind of worries me a little bit about Jeremy Hill is he almost seems like he's touchdown dependent.
Absolutely, I agree with you on
and
that.
I think that Giovanni Bernard probably has a lot safer of a floor because he obviously catches the ball a lot more, and he does sprinkle in some carries as well. And he was actually more efficient running the ball than Jeremy Hill was last year too. And I think you could see a lot more of the same this year. But it's all remains to be seen because they also have a different offensive coordinator. It's going to be interesting to see how he utilizes them both.
Very true. I do agree with you on that one. I think that Gio Bernard definitely has a safer floor.
Yeah. I mean, how many yards can you see Jeremy Hill getting this year? Do you think he's going to get at least 1,000? I don't see it. I just don't.
I think my safe bet for Jeremy Hill is
808.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say 800 yards and about 7 or 8 touchdowns. Yeah. That's so funny that we both thought of that because I was just going to say that.
I mean, this is a team that pretty much got rid of all their depth behind A.J. Green. Who do you see stepping up as that number 2 receiver? I mean, obviously you got Tyler Eifert there, but he might be missing part of the beginning of the season, so... Who do you think is going to step up as that number 2 receiver?
That's a very, very good question.
I mean, you got some pretty uninspiring receivers behind him. You got players like Brandon LaFell, Mario Alford, Brandon Tate, James White. You also got the rookie Tyler Boyd that's in there that I could see playing the slot. So there's that option over there.
You know what? That's funny you bring Boyd up because I believe it was Marvin Lewis that said that Boyd was going to play the slot this year. He's going to play primarily the slot.
Yeah, that's where I was getting it from.
Yeah, I think that LaFell, I mean, as long as he doesn't, I mean, I can't trust him on this one, but hopefully he doesn't drop the ball too much because, you know.
We already know my stance on LaFell. I'm not going to be mean. I think obviously the number 2 option on that team is going to be Eifert once he returns. But I don't see LaFell doing anything over there. I honestly, I'm a little bit worried about their offense a little bit. At least their passing offense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're glad that he's not on the Patriots anymore.
I mean, I was surprised that he even went there to begin with. Because I thought he was I didn't even really think he was that good when he was in Carolina, to be honest.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of LaFell. I think that he's just drop prone. He's like T.O., but without the talent.
So nothing like T.O.?
So nothing like T.O., yeah, exactly.
Alright, so our next team we're going to do is the Cleveland Browns. Ugh.
What a mess.
I do like a couple of their running backs, though. I'm one of those guys that I do still believe in the Crow that as a 1 and 2 down thumper, and I think he's a little bit of a value of where he's going right now, like the 10th or 11th round. I think that people are kind of overlooking him a little bit. But obviously everyone else is on that Duke Johnson train, and for good reason. I do think he'll catch a lot of passes. So I think he's definitely the back to own over there.
Yeah, I think that in PPR, I think Duke Johnson's going to be the better bet. But I do think that Corral is getting a little overlooked. He's going to be that 1-2 down, or at least right now he's projected to be the 1-2 down back.
$10 bet over and under 75 receptions for Duke Johnson.
I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say slightly over.
I don't know. You know what, man?
I just think that's the only place where RG3 will be accurate is the dump offs. I mean, I'm sorry. That's the way my thought process is right now. I was like, well, he's not a good quarterback. He's going to dump it off a lot.
That's funny that you say that because you know what? I think that you know what? I don't know. I just can't see RG3 even being accurate with the dump offs. I think he'll miss his target.
Man, that's harsh.
Hey, RG3's favorite target is the ground.
Yeah, I remember watching, was it that preseason game against the Detroit Lions where they're just letting them just get pummeled?
Oh, yeah.
It looked like, honestly, it looked like it was on purpose. It's like, they're probably like, fuck you, man, we want our cousin in.
Oh, man, yeah. You know what, I can't make heads or tails of it, but all I gotta say is, I think in PPR, Duke Johnson's the guy to own, but Corral definitely is getting overlooked.
So, I know we talked a little bit about this already, offline. What do you think about all these intriguing options you got at receiver for the Cleveland Browns? I mean, you got the reinstatement of, what's his face, Josh Gordon. You also got the rookie Corey Coleman, who we thought was going to be their number 1 receiver, and then you also got Gary Barnidge over there still too. What do you think? Do you think they got a nice little something going on over there with the receivers if Josh Gordon can stay on the field?
I think so too. You got the barnyard dog, you got the pot smoker, and you got a talented rookie. So I think that's a pretty good setup. If RG3 can't do it this year, then he's done in my eyes. You know what? He's got the tools to do it. He needs to do it.
I think that Josh Gordon must have been pulling off some of those old car dealership negotiations to get back in the league, man. I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. If I was Roger Goodell, I think that we both agreed on this. I think I would have told him, "Fuck you. You're not getting back in this league."
So who do you think's that number 2 option? Because Gary Barnes was pretty good last year, but do you think he's gonna have like the same kind of season now?
I think that just like we were talking about Jeremy Hill, I know he plays a different position, but I think he's touchdown dependent. So.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of tight ends are though too.
Yeah. So it depends. Number one, it sounds like he's going to be healthy for the start of the season. So I can't make heads or tails of it. I think that he's going to need to get at least 7 touchdowns to get his value for you. He's going a bit later for tight ends. I like that. But as far as the number 2 option goes, I think if Josh Gordon, incredibly talented, but always gets in trouble. I think that it's going to be Josh Gordon.
You think Josh Gordon's going to be the number 2 option over there?
Yeah, but the thing is, I would never draft him as far as principle for me goes because I can't trust him. For me, I would rather have somebody else draft him and then have it blow up in their face. Because he said it his entire career. He's like, I'm done. I'm not going to get in trouble anymore. And he keeps getting in trouble, so fuck him.
You think he's going to fuck it up again before the start of the season? Or do you think it's going to fuck it up during the season when you actually drafted him and oh yeah, I got him, he's good, and then oh dude, he smoked the blunt again. Now he's getting suspended.
Yeah, no, I see that coming. And this time, I know that if he gets caught one more time, he's done. He's never coming back in this league. If he gets caught one more time, I know Roger Goodell is going to drop the hammer on him.
I mean, he's had so many chances. Let's hope that he can finally stay clean, stay away from Manziel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, stay away from that guy for sure.
You know what? I'll just have my buddy back home, Jerry Bogus. Just hire him to hang out with Josh Gordon. He'll smoke all his pot for him.
That's perfect. Yeah, let's get Jamie.
All right, so next on the list, Dallas Cowboys. We them boys, like we touch with the penises. Have you ever seen that app or that meme? We them boys and their penises touch.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right though.
Yeah. So I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is a guy that I was just reading about him actually before this show that he might get close to 380 carries this year. I think they're a little bit overhyping that a little bit, but it wouldn't be unheard of. I mean, look how many carries DeMarco Murray had that just a couple of years ago,
Yeah, very good point.
And with that being said, the more carries you get, the more opportunities you get to get injured. Obviously you think Darren McFadden would be the handcuff, right?
Yeah, I think now, if you're very scared about it, maybe grab Alfred Morris too, if you're in a deep draft, but honestly, yeah, I would take a front DMC. But you know what though, Ezekiel Elliott, he doesn't have much of an injury history. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but hey, you got to handcuff your back, so I would grab the DMC.
I always would like to draft the handcuff to my running back, especially if it's a first round pick. I don't know if Elliott's a guy that you want in the first round. He's been going in the first in some drafts, but I'm just saying if you're those high profile picks that you make in the beginning, you really want to get some insurance on them. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way.
And we already seen what Darren McFadden could do last year. He was doing just fine behind that offensive line. So, that's why the pick kind of surprised me. I was just expecting them to it worked last year, let's just keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it surprises me because Dallas could use that pick in so many other areas where they do struggle, which is, defense, but, Jerry Jones had to get the flashy pick. So,
yeah, and then it's like, well, why'd you even draft Alfred Morris?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually funny because I just read an article, well, not an article, but I read a piece of news about Alfred Morris, and he says he doesn't regret signing in Dallas, but I know he does, because originally he thought he was going to be the number 2 back there behind McFadden, but now he's essentially a non-factor.
Well, Alfred Morris has always been more of a humble person, so that honestly doesn't surprise me that he said that.
That doesn't surprise me that he said it, but I do think that he does regret it on the inside because now he goes from being in the game plan to being nearly completely out of the game plan.
Who knows? Maybe he'll surprise. Who do you think is that number 2 option over there in Dallas? I mean, they almost don't really have like a great one. I mean, you got Terrence Williams, you got Cole Beasley, and you also got the old ass Jason Witten. Who do you think is going to be that number 2 option over there? Is it, or do you think there's even a number 2 option worth drafting on that team?
It's hard for me. I know if it's a healthy Tony Romo, I want Jason Witten as my number 2 target over there in Dallas. But that's not a safe bet these days. So
he is getting up there in age.
And the other thing too is, I would say Terrence Williams, but last year, Bryant was injured for an extended period of time, and then everybody expected, Terrence Williams to have a good year, and didn't happen. So
they also had a pretty bad quarterback situation over there too. But even in the past, he's never really stepped up when Dez went out either. So, and he's also been a guy. He's also been a guy that's been a little bit more touchdown dependent. So,
yeah, exactly. I think I wouldn't want pretty much either one of them. I don't. Honestly, if it's a healthy Tony Romo, I want Jason Witten.
All right, so there's really not much to speak about over there. I think we both agree that I think Jason Witten might be actually a little bit underlooked right now, or I'm sorry, overlooked right now. I think that people are kind of sleeping on him because of his age and because of Tony Romo.
Definitely.
All right, so next on our list is I'm sure you're going to want to talk about this team, the Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos.
Right now,
they're broke now because of that Von Miller contract.
Yeah, no shit, man. 114 mil.
Yeah, they gave him a huge contract. But anyways, as far as running backs go, obviously they signed C.J. Anderson to
a pretty good contract.
Number 1 back, Bucks. So let's hope that he pans out. But I think the most talented runner on that depth chart is Devontae Booker. I think that he's the one that has the most chance to stand out in the future.
Do you think that there's any chance at all that he ends up taking up that number 1 role?
Not next year, but I think a couple years from now, watch out.
I mean, I honestly, it really wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I definitely think he's going to carve out some kind of role on that team.
I think so too. I think honestly he's my favorite right now for getting that third down work. I think that actually Ronnie Hillman, I think he's in danger of losing his roster spot on the team if he can't contribute on special teams. So I think that Devontae Booker is definitely that third down back next.
And I think that C.J. Anderson, he seems like a second half type of player. And maybe if they get a little bit impatient with him, if he's kind of struggling early on, maybe they'll try out Devontae Booker, and if he runs away with it, he might just keep the starting job for the second half of the season too. So
that could be it too. I mean, like I said, I think he's the most talented back on that team right now. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, the Denver Broncos, I think that they are going to lean a little bit towards the running game because of their quarterback situation. Meaning that, like, you got Demaryius Thomas, you got Emmanuel Sanders, but then you really don't got a whole lot much after that. I don't really see anything else. I mean, even at the tight end position, I don't even know who their tight end is. Was it Virgil Green or what?
Yeah, Virgil Green is the favorite to catch passes this year at the tight end position, but then there's also a deep sleeper that I want to talk about, and that's Jeff Howerman.
I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and they have Jeff Howerman over Virgil Green.
I mean that could change.
And they also have Ronnie Hillman over Devontae Booker.
What's that?
They also have Ronnie Hillman over Devontae Booker.
Yeah, I think.
But they got Trevor Siemian over Paxton Lynch, so he was taking first reps with Mark Sanchez.
I think that Denver is really going to take a long, hard look at both quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. I think that Jeff Howerman is a guy that, I think he's got a size advantage. He's got the speed advantage. I think that he's got a better build than Virgil Green does. I think that he's going to be a very good target net. He also, well, I know this is really hard to compare to, but he reminds me of Gronk a little bit with that size. He could be a complete mismatch for a lot of players.
You think he's still maybe a couple of years away from making an impact, though?
Yeah, I do. I think he's still pretty raw.
So, I mean, outside of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, do you see anybody else stepping up into in the passing game at all?
Short answer, no. Long answer, the only other option is Beanie Fowler, and I don't think he's going to do anything behind those guys, so no.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jordan Norwood, Benny Fowler, Cody Latimer. They all proved that they're just afterthoughts.
Yeah.
All right.
Latimer was supposed to break in a couple years ago, but he hasn't done anything yet. He might be
out the door.
Bust.
All right, so we're gonna go on to the Detroit Lions. They got a little bit of a smorgasbord here at running back, but I think there's obviously the main guys, Amir Abdullah. Behind him, I'm just gonna read off the names off the depth chart right now. You got Theo Riddick is in the number 2, Stephen Ridley's number 3, Zach Zenner is number 4. If Amir Abdullah keeps putting the ball on the ground, who do you think's gonna step into that between the tackle role?
Well, I think that Theo Riddick will keep his third down role.
He's got probably the most safest role on the team, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, he proved that in PPR leagues he is an asset. However, a name I keep hearing pop up is Zach Zenner, so keep your eyes out for that guy.
I mean, I definitely like Zenner more than a guy like Stephen Ridley. That signing kind of surprised me. I definitely thought they were going to go after a running back, but I thought it'd be someone better than Stephen Ridley. He's a guy I really want on my team. He's suffered through some injuries, and I just think he's done.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
That's why I think that Zach Zenner could surprise some people.
Definitely.
And he's going at such a cheap price that it's totally worth it.
Oh yeah, to take a flyer on, even if it doesn't work out, you're just taking shots in the dark anyways.
I mean, but there's also that chance that maybe Amir Abdullah does take down a 3-down back role, but I just don't think he has the kind of frame that could support that.
I don't know. He's an extremely talented back, so I hope it pans out for him next year.
And all of a sudden now, over here in Detroit, they have a lot of receivers that can catch the ball. Like they got Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and they apparently just signed Antoine Bolden. Like who they did?
I did not hear about that.
So, who do you think's going to be that number 2 receiver over there?
I'm going to have to say safe answer Marvin Jones. Golden Tate's obviously going to step into that number 1 role last year. He showed flashes last year, and he showed flashes in Seattle. So I think that he's a safe bet for number 1, and I think that Marvin Jones is going to be that number 2 opposite to him.
Antoine Bolden doesn't scare you at all to take any reps away from Marvin Jones?
No, he looks slow to me.
Not even in the red zone where he can make like the catches in traffic.
Maybe in the red zone, but that's about it.
You know that Matthew Stafford likes to rip that ball into tight little windows down there because he doesn't give a shit about ball security.
Yeah, he likes to throw picks. We know that, but with the almighty Cooter, I think he's going to talk some sense into Stafford. Maybe get him to fit it into a little bit of a safer window.
Who do you think is going to have a better season than Marvin Jones or Eric Ebron? I know, obviously, they play different positions, but who do you think is going to make more of an impact fantasy-wise?
That's a very good question, but I think my money is on Eric Ebron being a little more consistent this year. I think he's going to have somewhat of a breakout year this next year.
I mean, I think he has to prove why they wasted a first-round pick on him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say waste, but they used a first-round pick on him. He has to say, hey, I'm worth this pick.
Yeah,
he needs to stop dropping the fucking football all the time.
I think this is a prove-it year for him. I think with the departure of Calvin Johnson, I think that he's going to step into the fold, and I think it's going to be him and Golden Tate. They're going to be the primary receiving options for Matthew Stafford.
You know, I heard some crazy story about this. I don't know how much truth there is to this story, but they're saying that Eric Ebron could have his job in jeopardy so far. They really like Cole Wick in training camp. He's a rookie tight end. And apparently he's got like Gronk-like size. He's like 6'7", 250 pounds, and he's looked really athletic with the ball in his hand. So what do you think about that kind of news?
I mean, I'm not too scared about it for this year. I think that Eric Ebron is going to... Personally, I think that he's going to show everybody why the Lions drafted him when they did. And I think that he's going to have a good prove-it year for Detroit. But, I mean, I don't know. You never know with those kind of guys. He's a good sleeper. Maybe in a dynasty league, take a late flyer on him.
Well, just put it this way. The Lions never do anything logical, so...
That is true. That's also why you're not a fan.
All right. Moving right along.
Smells like vagina in here. Excuse me? Smells like fresh vagina in here.
Are you talking about my vagina?
Maybe.
Everyone.
All right, so we're gonna talk about the Green Bay Packers. I know, we have been talking a little bit longer than we anticipated, so due to time constraints, we're just going to touch on certain teams that we want to touch up on. And we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers for right now. Obviously, Eddie Lacy, he was a disappointment last year. He's supposed to be losing weight with his P90X program, but you still have this feeling like if you draft him, you kind of want to make sure you get Starks, right? Or do you think that Starks is a guy that maybe just had a lucky run last year, or do you think that this is a guy that you should probably own?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if you get Lacy, you definitely need to have Starks. No question about it, because Eddie Lacy is projected to be the starter, and he should be. He's the more talented back. He doesn't fumble as much as Starks, because Starks' fumbling was a problem last year. But, I mean, Eddie Lacy, out of shape, possibly an injury risk because of that. I don't know. I think you definitely have to have Starks for the situation.
I mean, the way I look at it is last year they gave Starks a chance to run away with that starting job, and he didn't take it. So
no, he didn't.
He proved to me that he's just not a starting running back. Oh, look at the doggy.
Oh, the doggy.
But yeah, he just proved that he wasn't a starting running back to me. And I think Eddie Lacy, he's on a contract season. He has something to prove. Maybe he pulls off like a Doug Martin this year.
You never know.
I'm not. I know neither one of us are real high on Eddie Lacy, so I don't think there's any real situation where I'm going to be drafting either one of these running backs. But I'm just saying, I feel like Starks is a guy that you still want to make sure you get him, just if you have Lacy on your team.
Definitely.
I'm just.
Reports still coming out. I think that everybody's saying Eddie Lacy's in good shape. So but I would still hammer.
I want to see it. I want to see it in like preseason against like NFL speed and ready. Like let's see it.
Yeah, I'm a prove it sort of guy. I don't think it'll take a lot for me to draft him in a league this year. I don't want him.
I'd have to get him at a significant value.
Yeah, I would agree. I would get him at a very significant value.
We already know who the number 2 option is over there in Green Bay. It's Randall Cobb. He proved that last year, so I don't think we really need to touch on that too much. So, let's talk about another team that's kind of interesting. He's one of the more interesting teams in fantasy football this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars. See, they got this what I hope is a 1-2 punch this year. Chris Ivory and TJ Yeldon. So, who do you like more out of those two backs?
Ooh, I think upside wise, like in dynasty and sleep and keeper leagues, I think that Yeldon's the guy to own. But I think that Ivory is going for a decent value for a guy that's going to get the amount of carries I think he's going to get this year.
Yeah.
And not to mention he's going to get the primary amount of red zone carries, so I think that he's got a lot of touchdown upside.
I'm surprised at where he's going. I'm surprised he's going this low. I mean, I expected his value to take a hit a little bit, but I did not expect him to come close to double-digit rounds. Like, 9th, 10th round is where he's going. Like, if you can get him there, there's potential he's going to get the most carries on the team.
I think so, too. I think
A starting running back that late? Like, all right, sign me up.
Yeah, I think him and Justin Forsett are two guys that you can get late value for him. And even Matt Forte he's going at a pretty decent value, too.
I mean, you got to think, like, he's gonna get more touchdowns than Yeldon, right? I mean, especially in the red zones where he excels at. So I think that's really like to utilize his skill set.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Yeldon showed promise as a rookie last year. I'm very surprised they got
He didn't really do a whole lot in the red zone though. That's true. I think that's one reason why they brought him in.
Ivory in the fold because I think they're going to let Ivory tote the rock in the red zone. So I think that's why, for me, Ivory has the most upside this year. But overall, career-wise, I think that Yeldon obviously has the most upside.
I do think, though, if Yeldon can carve out a nice little passing role over there, I think that he can be a pretty viable option in like the flex position this year.
Absolutely. I think that he could be a good PPR stash for years to come.
Right. Obviously, they got elite wide receivers combo with the Allen twins, so really don't got to go into that too much. They also got Julius Thomas, so they're locked and loaded there. So we ain't really got to touch on the number 2 option over there. I think we both are agreeing it's going to be Allen Hurns.
Absolutely.
So the next team that we are going to touch up on is the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you think is the handcuff to Jamal Charles? You got 2 backs over there. Actually 3, but...
You know what? I read something interesting today, and it was, if you're going to handcuff Jamal Charles, you're going to want to use Spencer Ware and not Carchandrick West, because Spencer Ware might be the primary beneficiary for red zone carries, so he has more of a touchdown upside. And early news out of OTAs is that he's been catching a lot of passes. So
they have been trying to use him more in the past. But
so I think that the guy with the most upside is assuredly Ware. If I was going to handcuff Jamal Charles right now, I'd want Spencer Ware.
I mean, if you look at Charmander, you look at Spencer Ware, and you look at their skill sets, you see that Charcandrick West, he's more similar to Jamal Charles than Ware is. Ware's the guy that he has a different skill set than both of them, so he's a guy that could get the ball even when Charles is not injured. And you got to think that when he does go down, he's going to get the early work, right?
I think so. He's mine right now. If I'm handcuffing, I'm definitely taking Ware.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said Ware and not West. That made me happy.
Yeah, I've been doing my research, and I think that's definitely what I would want to do. Personally, I wouldn't want to own Charles just because of his injury history, or I would have to get him at a significant value, to be honest with you. But I like Ware more.
I like the price of the handcuff too. It's it's a lot cheaper than all the other handcuffs.
Definitely.
And I know they're not a real high volume passing team. Do you think that there's a number 2 receiver on that team that could make a dent in anything? You got Albert Wilson. You got Chris Conley. I kind of do like Chris Conley, but
yeah, I think he's kind of the guy that a lot of people are like picking up is who has some good upside, and I'm kind of buying into it too. I think that Chris Conley is the guy to own as a number 2 in Kansas City.
I mean, he looks like he's pretty good at catching the ball in traffic. But I still think when it's all said and done, though, the number 2 option over there is Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking there, I think that he's a young, promising tight end. He just signed an extension. I think that we're going to see some good things to come from Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think he's coming at a little bit better of a value than he was last year, so it makes it a little bit more appealing because you don't got to spend like a 4th, 5th rounder on him. This year you can get him at like the 6th.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I like that value a lot more. I was kind of considering about getting him in our Dynasty League, but I went ahead and took an earlier round and took Jordan Reed. But I think that Travis Kelce, I think that he's a great young tight end to own on your team. And I think he's going to finish definitely top 10 this year as far as tight ends go.
Without a doubt. All right. The next team is a team that I'm kind of finally excited to talk about a little bit. You got the New York Jets. They re-signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've left that out of the news and notes, but we thank God we caught it. They re-signed Ryan Fitzpatrick. So, I mean, does that change your opinion now on the receiving core?
All right. Well, I mean, with Ryan Fitzpatrick back, I think that makes Brandon Marshall more valuable to own now. I think that he's going to put up similar numbers to last year. And I think Eric Decker is going to put up similar numbers as well. I think that it's a good overall thing for the whole team with Ryan Fitzpatrick back. I think that as long as everybody stays healthy, I think we're going to see more of the same from this Jets team.
You know, it's a crazy stat. I think that they had like less than 10 receptions out of the tight end position last year.
Wow. Yeah, I know that is very, very crazy.
It was pretty much a 2 wide receiver show with like scraps for everybody else. They both had a pretty good season. They are both very effective in the red zone. Do you think that their red zone dominance is going to carry over to this season?
That's hard to say.
I think they've both been pretty good red zone options their entire career.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that Eric Decker is definitely, for me, the more viable red zone option, at least.
He's definitely the better value out of the two.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely rather own Eric Decker and get him a little later than I would Brandon Marshall.
You can get Eric Decker in like the 5th round. He's a guy that finished as a top 20 receiver last year.
Very true. Very true.
So, next on our list is we got the Oakland Raiders. I mean, obviously we got Latavius Murray's over there, and he was a guy that he had quite a bit of carries. He had like over 260 carries last year, but he didn't really do a whole lot with it. He just cracked the 1,000-yard mark. He was averaging right at 4 yards a carry. And they did draft a rookie running back this offseason, DeAndre Washington. Do you think that Murray's job security is safe?
I would say he's definitely going into training camp this year with something to prove, because they obviously brought in another running back to compete with him, and maybe just it might even be a wake up call for Latavius Murray, being like, hey, your job isn't as safe as you think it is. And what they're going to do is, this year, I think he's going to have to actually earn his spot as the number 1 back. So he's definitely going to have to come out in training camp and be the guy.
Despite him having only like 4 yards of carry last year, he did have quite a bit of runs that went for 20 yards or more. I think he was 4th in the NFL last year. And I mean, yeah, he wasn't wasn't very efficient with the football, but he was still 6th in the league last year in rushing. Granted, it was a down season, but you can't take that away from him. I think that he'll still be the main guy for right now. I know they did draft a guy, DeAndre Washington. I think could probably steal some passing work away from him, but I think that he has a pretty safe situation over there in Oakland. And you gotta like that. I know what I love the most about him is it has nothing to do with him, but they have a great offensive line over there. I think actually they graded out better than Dallas this year. So
yeah, that's something to watch out for. I think that O-line is going to be much improved. I think that Latavius Murray, if there was time for a breakout season, it would be this year.
All right, now we know the number 2 option, Crabtree. You think he's gonna have a similar season to last year?
I actually think so. I actually like Crabtree a little more than I like Amari Cooper as far as where you can get him at. I think that Crabtree is going for a value right now, and I think he's a good acquisition for your team.
In order for him to have the same season that he had last year and have Amari Cooper still like add on to what he did last year and improve, I think that Derek Carr is going to have to take that next step up with them, and I really do think that he can do that. I think he's got the kind of dedication, and he's a smart quarterback. He makes smart throws. He got a good deep ball. So
I think so too. I think he definitely takes that leap next year. He's a guy that I fucking hate the Raiders. I can't say that enough as a team, but I love Derek Carr because he works hard and he genuinely seems like a guy. It kind of scares me as a Denver fan because he looks so promising already, and this is just the beginning.
All right, so next on the list, I mean, we don't really got to cover this too much because we know the handcuff, but there's one thing I want to talk about is the number 2 option on Pittsburgh, because we know DeAndre Williams, he's going to be the guy that everyone's going to want, but what do you think? Who do you think is going to step up as that number 2 receiver over there in Pittsburgh?
Most upside, I'd say Sammy Coates, but the answer that a lot of people are leaning towards Marcus Wheaton. Number 1, because he's in a contract year, he's got a lot to prove. He's going to make a lot on the open market. So this is really a big year for Marcus Wheaton. So personally, there's a lot riding on this year for him.
See, I'm kind of sour on him.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like he's just never gelled very well with Big Ben. They never really quite been on the same page. Even like the 4 games last year where Montavious Bryant was not playing, he wasn't the one that stepped up. It was Darius Hayward Bay is the one that had stepped up. For the first 8 games of the season, he had 13 catches. He's just not impressive to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm saying, if there was a year, it would be this year. But yeah, I've kind of soured on him as well. I don't trust him. Honestly, at this point, if there is a receiver worth owning besides Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, it's Sammy Coates for me.
See, I don't mind him as a late flyer, but I think that the guy that you really want is a guy like Ladarius Green.
Oh yeah, okay. I was talking receivers, but yes, no, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Well, I know, I know. I wanted to bring up the receivers first. I like Ladarius Green. I'm not as high as I was on him earlier this summer, but I still think he'll be the number 2 option over there. I'm just a little bit worried about that offensive coordinator's use of the tight end. He hasn't had a tight end that has had over 5 touchdowns in years, so that's one thing that kind of shined me away from Ladarius Green. But I mean, I like taking Ladarius Green over a guy like Coby Fleener, who's going a couple of rounds before him. So there's that too.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, there is a lot of upside with it. We know that Ben Roethlisberger likes to use his tight ends. Maybe not as much as the receivers, but we know that Ben likes to air it out. So.
Well, he gives them a new element. They never really had a tight end that could stretch the field before like he could. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him for sure.
Definitely.
All right, is there anything else that you want to bring up?
No, I think I'm good.
I want to bring up that the 5th down, we are having what we call a listener league. It's going to be for charity though. The buy-in for the league is going to be whatever you want to donate. Whatever you guys donate, I'm going to match, unless it's a lot of money. And then of course I'll give $50.
I'll try to do my best to match as well. We'll try to get as much money together as we possibly can. But
I was thinking maybe like a charity foundation, I don't know, maybe Go Play 60, like the NFL one. Or maybe like the United Negro Fund.
I think both those sound great. I think that.
I was just kidding with the second one.
No, I think that Go Play 60 would be a good recipient of this.
We'll figure something out. We're definitely gonna get a good charity in there, though. It's something that I want to do, just because I can, I guess.
Yeah, I love playing in leagues. I think I'm going to play in about 8 leagues this year, so the more the merrier. I think that a listener league would be great. I'd love to play against you guys. Me and Johnny, we like to think we know our stuff, so it would be great to get you guys involved as well.
I'll play in this league, and I won't even draft a quarterback.
You know what? I won't either.
All right, so that really does it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed. We tried to do something a little bit different today. Please rate and review us on iTunes, and we will give you an opportunity to win a draft board made by the Football Doctor. So we'll send that right out to you free of charge. So it gives you an incentive. It's gonna be a randomly picked. Just do it.
Hell yeah.
All right, and if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter at the Fifth Down FF, and we're ready to hit the hay. What do you say?
All right. Yeah. Signing off. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, peace out.